Hello! I just want to say hello to the five-fish fangirls. No, that's wrong. I want to say hello to the five-ish fangirls. Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yes, that's
Yes,
correct.
that's
Anyway,
correct.
hello. 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 That's five hellos to the five-fish-ish fangirls. Bye.
This is Paul McGann, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast.
Five-ish fangirls, I love you, and I'm one of the five-ish. In fact, I'm the biggest one of the five-ish. I am the Sixth Doctor Colin Baker, and I wish you all well. Have fun.
The tangents and squee continue all the way to episode number 30. You've got it all wrong. Whitehall, everyone has got it all wrong. This doesn't destroy, it gives life, new life. We finally get to find out what we become. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Let's start off like we do every week by going around the virtual table and see who has joined us this week.
This is Brittany in Fort Pierce.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
This is Mitch in Kitchener, Ontario.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone. We are all here. Yay!
Hello.
On this Super Bowl Eve where none of us care about what's going on whatsoever.
My dad called me earlier and I said, I kind of forgot that it was this weekend. He was like, well, you gotta watch some of it. Like, no, I don't have to watch any of it.
Katy Perry for the win.
Hulu now.
Like, no, I can go watch something else. So, yeah. I'm only in it for the food.
That's what I told my roommates. I'm only coming out to get some food and maybe watch a few of the commercials and halftime. But the game itself, not really.
Yep.
I can't imagine anyone outside of Seattle or Boston really cares about this because neither team is very well liked outside of its market area.
Yeah. Well, at this point, the people of Boston really don't have a choice but to watch TV because apparently they're snowed in on under 50,000 feet of snow that they got last week. Earlier this week. So.
Which, if you are in that area, please be safe. I know I kind of poke fun at everybody, but be safe out there.
Yeah.
It's sort of a treacherous time of year.
A little bit.
In some places. For some. I mean, I'm getting sunshine, yes, but it's also kind of smoggy and gross too. So.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's winter. That's winter time in a valley, a bowl-like valley. You get inversion. It's nasty.
And I bought goodies for my ice cream truck today, so there.
Oh, shush.
Yeah, we got snow, but it's not nearly as bad as it is further east.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So anyway, now that we've had our weather report.
That's what the weather report.
There he is.
Moving on from weather on to
a lot of our stuff is on.
Yes. This just in, Doctor Who's still not on. And as far as I know, there have not been any set pictures either, so they need to get outside and start filming some stuff.
I think they've all been in studios from.
That's because Sherlock has been outside filming stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which apparently Martin Freeman fan of. But
yeah, that's a story for another day.
Yeah, we'll cover that maybe never.
Yeah.
Anyway,
moving on.
This thing.
So, moving on to our first piece of news. 4 pieces of news we have. I think this made us all very excited, but me especially, that David Tennant is joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm so excited.
Hey, we're all excited about this.
Yes.
Anytime I can see David Tennant on my screen doing things, I'm happy.
Yes.
Indeed.
So, Marvel announced that David Tennant is going to be in the new Netflix series, aka Jessica Jones. He's going to be playing a villain known as the Purple Man in the comics, and his character has the ability to produce chemical pheromones that allow him to control the actions of anyone who inhales or absorbs them. So pretty much he's going to be playing a purple David Tennant.
I was gonna say, doesn't he do that anyway?
Yeah. He's going to be playing a 10th purple faced doctor. Although it gets worse as the description goes on, so it's not as funny as it sounds. So apparently his power also allows him to psychologically torture his victims.
It's not that nice.
Okay, yeah. so that's not David Tennant at all.
Yeah, no.
He's definitely playing a fictional character.
He's playing David Tennant's evil purple twin brother.
All right.
Yes.
I like that.
I just want to go back to the Doctor Who thing just briefly because we may not have set pictures yet, but we do have a costume for Clara.
Oh, we do. Yes.
Oh, we do.
Woohoo!
Someone posted pictures. They were apparently doing work experience in the Doctor Who makeup department for a few days, and got pictures of them with Peter and Jenna.
Nice.
And so yeah.
Cool.
And we get a glimpse of one of Jenna's costumes.
Hey, we'll take whatever we can get.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
we'll put a link to that in the show notes if you want to see it. So,
I'm blogging a post onto our Tumblr.
There we go.
With links to the two pictures.
Cool.
So
interpret as you will, because you never know with costumes.
Yes. And then
theorize away, you'll probably be wrong, but still theorize. It's fine.
That's fun.
And I blogged one of with someone was able to ID what dress the dress, and posted the picture of Jenna, and then beside a picture of what they ID'd as the dress she's wearing. So I reblogged that one to our Tumblr as well. Check it out.
Cool. So apparently that
plays Clara and is interested in that.
Yes. Cosplayers, start on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But AKA Jessica Jones supposed to premiere this year on Netflix sometime after the Daredevil series comes out. So, which would be fun, because then if you got Netflix, you can watch it. You don't have to worry about whether you have the channel or not. If you got Netflix, you're good. So.
Well, that's Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Yep.
So now we have, like I said, this pre-show, we now have Benedict Cumberbatch and David Tennant as part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes.
We're collecting them. Marvel's collecting them, and it's awesome.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Not that they weren't going to get my money beforehand, but this just makes it even better for me to take my money. Shut up and take my money.
Yep.
Buy all of the action figures and
the cash.
Yeah. Awesome sauce. All right then. Moving on.
All right. Next bit of news is Emma Watson has been cast as Belle in the new live-action version of Beauty and the Beast. The actress made an announcement Monday morning on Facebook saying that I'm finally able to tell you that I'll be playing Belle in the Disney's new live-action Beauty and the Beast, she said. It was such a big part of my growing up, it almost feels surreal that I get to dance to Be Our Guest and sing something there. My 6-year-old self is on the ceiling, heart bursting, time to start some singing lessons. I can't wait for you to see it. which
My husband, after this came out and it was trending on Facebook, and my husband was like, "What do you think about Emma Watson being cast for Beauty and the Beast?" That said, a young female who's more interested in books than men. Not a big stretch, other than she has to sing this time.
yeah.
Like, so she has done this. She has done this before. Although, you know,
Yeah, she's playing Hermione, but with singing,
yeah,
and less wand waving. But there's still magic.
And she falls in love with kind of, well, Ron really wasn't an outcast sort of thing, but he was kind of a shy, awkward, sort of misfit kind of a guy. So I guess that's sort of that's probably where the similarities end, though, between Ron and the Beast. So it'll be it'll be interesting to see who they cast as the Beast and if they add anything to his backstory in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since now that Disney's starting this whole trend of making their animated princess movies into live action movies, but just adding a few things. Let's see. I'm interested to see what they do. Although I want to see how well Cinderella does before I'm like all gung ho for it, because I wasn't that impressed with Maleficent. It was okay, but
I still haven't seen Maleficent.
Yeah, I mean,
so I can't comment on that.
Yeah, I only saw it because my sister got the DVD for Christmas, and it's like Christmas Day. What else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Well, I know it's on. I think it's on Star, so going to be on Star. So I'll probably watch it when it gets onto that because I have that.
Yeah.
It was just kind of hard to find the Pink Fairy and Dolores Umbridge.
Oh yeah, I wasn't that enamored with Maleficent version of the fairies because I always liked the fairies in the animated one, and they just made them be idiots, and I was like,
Aww.
Sorry, I just spoiled that for you, Brittany.
Well, actually, I've heard that before, so
yeah.
So
it's fine.
Yeah.
The statute of limitations for spoilers has run its course.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah, I pretty much know the storyline of what happens to Maleficent.
Yeah, me too.
So
I have heard. Did you realize that Maleficent fails a reverse Bechdel test in that at no time do two male characters talk to each other about something other than a woman?
Oh wow!
I did not know that. There's a little tidbit there for you. A water cooler piece of trivia right there. The more you know.
That was deliberate.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
So, Beauty and the Beast, yay! So, I wonder if they'll pull some of the music from the Broadway version into this. So, if it truly is going to be musical.
It does say it's going to be a musical, so who knows how much.
Yeah.
Because there are songs that appear in the Broadway version that aren't in the movie.
That's true.
So, and then there was a song that was supposed to be in the movie that got cut and now is in the Broadway version, so they may try and put it back in. So.
Yeah, now it's in the movie again too.
Yeah.
Yep,
so,
maybe.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Maybe.
I guess we'll find out as we go along.
Yep.
Yep.
So.
Alrighty then.
Anyway.
Moving on to a piece
Moving on to
non-casting news, I guess. Reverse casting news.
Zachary Quinto will not be reprising Siler for Heroes Reborn. While it had been growing increasingly unlikely that Hero star Zachary Quinto would return for NBC's Heroes Reborn, with Quinto himself even telling IGN that he was hesitant to return to the series because of his desire to defy audiences' expectations with his work, the actor himself has now confirmed that he won't be reprising his role as Siler. BuzzFeed spoke to Quinto at the Sundance Film Festival. "No, I'm not going back. I talked to them about it, and Tim reached out to me when they decided they were going to do it. We had a great conversation. It was such a meaningful experience for me. I love that job. I love those people. And I just felt like I didn't want to go back to it." Tim was very, very understanding. Tim Crane. He was very understanding and supportive. "I'm thrilled that they're doing it. I'm thrilled that Jack Coleman is going back to it, and I know that they just cast Zach Levi, which is great. I mean, it's a great thing to be a part of. I just felt like I needed to cultivate other outlets for myself. But of course, knowing there that Hero star Jack Coleman was returning to Heroes Reborn to play Noah Bennett again, and that Chuck's Zachary Levi had been cast as one of the new leads. So,
actually, I'm kind of glad to hear this because Siler was one of those where he was a great character in the original series. By the end of it, they had no clue what they were doing with him. And so, yeah, let's get some new stuff in there. Sorry, Zachary Quinto, you're great, you're wonderful, but I'm glad you're not in this one.
that just makes sure making sure that his calendar is clear for whenever they finally get the script done for Star Trek 3.
Yeah, exactly.
We now know he is free to continue on as Spock. So, that and I saw a commercial. He's going to be on some show on NBC that looks really dumb. So he may want to stick with playing Spock.
Yeah. Well, I guess actors are entitled to have a few dumb shows in their CV.
You have to have at least one bomb so that you know what true utter failure feels like, I guess.
I guess so.
We
all have that, right?
Yeah, so you know not to do it again. It's a learning experience.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. And this is some in the next bit of news, which is more non-news. Not for my lack of trying. I actually almost got in yesterday. A friend of mine had an extra ticket, and she would have given it to me, except I had to work. But Fan Experience was this weekend in Salt Lake, and I've been kind of keeping tabs on what's been going on at the convention through Facebook and Instagram and just all the different things. I had a bunch of friends go and post things, and it looked like it was a lot of fun. We've got links to a few articles about some of the main highlights. Tom Felton was apparently a super awesome guy, even though he plays Draco Malfoy in Harry Potter, but
it's because he's really Gryffindor.
Yeah. He talked about that in the panel. Apparently, that he did. That he took the Pottermore test, and he was a Gryffindor. Said he was Gryffindor. He's like, and he actually tweeted J.K. Rowling and said, "I think that something's wrong on this." But J.K. Rowling actually tweeted back to him and said, "No, it's right. Yep. It's just new. It knows what I always knew." She didn't want to spoil his
motivation, so she didn't tell him.
Yeah. But I actually the library did have a booth. I didn't get to work it this time just because it's someone else's turn. But they did it with the Rocky Mountain Muggles, and apparently the Muggles went and they were all like dressed up in their cosplays and stuff, and they went and got a picture with Tom Felton, and he thought it was the greatest thing ever to see them all in costume. So I did get to hear about that. They did have the Lannister twins from Game of Thrones were there. Lena Headey and I'm going to slaughter his name, Nikolai Coster-Waldau. Yeah, they were there. They did a panel, and apparently Nikolai went to a Jazz game last night, and they had him they put him on the Jazz Instagram, and apparently the Jazz won last night, so maybe he's good luck because they've kind of had a crappy year this year. So they were there. The big thing was the Doctor Who experience. Was the big panel with Matt Smith, Karen Gillan, and Billy Piper, which that was awesome. I heard, and I guess they did a whole big thing with where they made up an episode of Doctor Who that would take place in Salt Lake, and they just kind of ad-libbed it all the way through, and just people were just laughing about it, and like and they were like they.
Well, it says in the article like. The plot of what they said is like, how is that remotely plausible? But okay, whatever.
Headcanon.
Like Karen started off like that. We're on in the TARDIS. It crashes into the Tabernacle, which is a famous building on Temple Square in downtown Salt Lake. And then Matt had to pop in real quick and say, "We didn't mean to ruin the building." And I can just imagine him like being the 11th Doctor, like saying sorry,
waving his hands around like sorry.
And it's a good thing that building, the Tabernacle, just underwent a big renovation. to make it seismically sound. So I don't. So maybe it's okay. And then there's that. And then they said, and then saying, there's actually a huge lake, but we thought it was just called Salt Lake City, but no, there's a great big salty lake, and it's made of blood, and Rory Pond is screaming. Is trapped in it, and he's screaming from below. So yeah, we'll link to the article, and it was just I saw it this morning and was just laughing because I was like, oh, this was so awesome. So it's like I'm sad that I missed it, but I'm glad that it happened. So if you can believe that. Yeah. And then Carrie Fisher, who originally was not going to be able to do a panel because of contract obligations with Star Wars 7, she wasn't going to be able to do it at all because she was contractually obligated not to. They actually managed to squeeze in a short 20-minute panel where it was just a moderator asking her questions, and she could talk about, certain other things that had nothing to do with Star Wars 7, but they didn't really have a Q&A, I guess, or something like that. So that was a big surprise that actually happened today. Brandon Routh, he had his panel. I guess apparently Adam is going to be in Arrow. Like, he is actually going to suit up and be Adam at the end of this season. So he did talk about that. Talked about the suit. He said it's very blue. So there's actually So he talks a little bit about that. I'm trying to see what else here. Christopher Lloyd. Apparently people keep asking him, hey, you know what year it is? And he's about, because 2015, Back to the Future. Mm-hmm. So, and then Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura, she was sort of a last minute addition. And there's actually a video on the link we'll share that she actually sang during her panel.
Oh, cool.
So it's kind of cool, and people. And she talks about how Martin Luther King convinced her to stay on Star Trek originally, and so I'm like, that would have been a cool one to go to. So yeah, so just FanX, sounds like it was a lot of fun. All the people I've talked to who went said they had a good time. It was a lot smaller, and this go around, which they meant to do it that way, and there was a lot less craziness with the lines. Like last time I talked about how I barely got in time for some of the good stuff because I was waiting outside the building. But this time there none of that happened.
Okay, sorry.
What did
sorry
you find?
to cut in, but I've just figured out what the shirt that Matt Smith is wearing in the FanX panel said is "Are you sciencey?" It's his shirt.
Are you sciencey?
I saw an earlier picture of him, and he's wearing like a pair of black pants, and they're the high water pants, and he's got the boots on, so they kind of look like the Doctor, like with 11 Doctor. Earlier, I saw him with a jacket that looked like a tweed jacket, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he dressed up as the 11th Doctor, but I guess he had that T-shirt on underneath his jacket.
The Are You Sciencey T-shirt? Because from Dave the Doctor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I just.
Are you science?
I was
didn't.
trying to figure out what his shirt said, and
I didn't notice. I didn't notice that until you said that.
His shirt says,
That's one of my favorite lines to quote. Like, do you have a name? Yes. Good. I've always wanted to meet someone named Yes. I want a report on my desk
I'm glad.
in triplicate with lots of charts and complicated sums on my desk tomorrow. ASAP. Pronto. LOL.
Oh, bless Matt. Oh yeah, when I saw it come across Facebook from the Salt Lake Comic-Con official page, and they had a picture of Matt coming into the convention center, and it said Matt Smith is in the house. And I'm like, and I'm not there. So, but anyway, I'm making it a goal right now to go to the next one in September, which they've announced the dates of it, and for some reason I can't find it, but I know I've seen the dates. But it's September. It's the last weekend of September, I think. So it's ever like something 24th through 26th, I think. Yes, 24th through 26th. So
now I have it at the end of September, and mine's at the beginning.
Hey, that works out because then you
can
go yours.
Fan Expo September 3rd through 6th this year.
Yeah, so So there you go. You can have your report at the beginning of the month, and I'll have mine at the end.
There you go. Yay!
So
Love convention season.
We got that squared away. So anyway, yeah. If you
January, we squared away our plans for September in January.
Yes.
Hey, you know what? Wins. I'm super cool with that.
There's a reason we have a calendar.
Anyway, yep. So anyway, if you went to FanX and you're listening and you want to send in a report of your doings and things you saw that I did not see from Facebook or the news or whatever, please you can send it in and we'll talk about it and read it out, and
or if you want to send us audio feedback
or send audio feedback or any convention that you go to. You know, because we're in our respective geographic areas.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of the world.
And if anyone's listening from, say, the San Francisco area, I know Walker Stalker's on this weekend. If you have a report from Walker Stalker Con,
yep,
we'd love to hear it.
Yep. Then we've got Wizard World's Comic-Con in Indianapolis here in a couple of weeks, which I'm not attending, even though Karen Gillian is now going to be a guest. So if you happen to be attending that, want to send in a report, please let me know.
If only we could go to them all, but time and funds do not allow for such.
Yeah.
Which stinks.
Yeah.
No.
But so wherever you are.
Chrissy, if I had the funds, I probably would have come out to Salt Lake and visited you this weekend.
If I had
the funds, I would have gotten me a ticket, you a ticket, and we would have gone to the convention together.
I would have come.
Mitch, you're awesome. You know what? Someday we're all going to have to go to a convention.
Someday we will.
Like find a centrally located one and just have a 5-ish Fangirls meetup. And
yes.
Let us loose in some poor unsuspecting convention center. 5 of them.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. Oh man.
If you want to make that dream come true, visit our Patreon.
Nice segue.
Hey, maybe we could get con organizers to say we could do a live podcast.
Yeah.
That could be part of the programming. It might not be on the main ballroom, but we'll be on some side room and say, "Hey."
All we need is a plug and some Wi-Fi, and we'll be good.
Good to go.
We'll make this sucker happen.
Yes. That could be our other tagline. Have the 5-ish Fangirls at your convention. All we need is a plug and some Wi-Fi.
That's on our list of goals. That's on our podcast bucket list, by the way.
Yes.
Yep.
If it wasn't before, I'm putting it down now.
Oh. That's been in the back of my mind since we started this thing, so.
Yeah. Yep. So ladies, start saving your pennies.
Yeah. And until then, our Patreon page can be found.
Anyway.
We're half kidding.
Yay conventions.
Yeah. Yay convention.
Yes.
Alrighty then. Now moving on to some housekeeping business. If you hadn't noticed, January is over, or close, and it is Super Bowl Sunday for those that care, and for those that don't, it is the beginning of a new month, and that means a new photo challenge.
Woo!
So,
I guess I should
we're all waiting.
Well,
go for it.
Considering Once Upon a Time starts March 1st, I figured February would be a good time to celebrate Once Upon a Time. So February is going to be the ABCs of Once Upon a Time, which I'm including Once Upon a Time in One and for everyone who's seen that as well. But the hashtag is going to be the ABCs of OUAT, just to make it short.
Yes.
It's good.
Because Twitter doesn't like
be a fun one.
the Twitter doesn't like a lot of letters. So.
No, it doesn't. And I meant to have a blog.
I was going to say, but if you do tag it just as Once Upon a Time, there is a good chance that one of the cast or crew on Twitter might notice it, or on Instagram. So maybe we could just get them to acknowledge it. I don't know.
If you've got the character space, use it, because you never know.
Yeah. Yep. You don't have to, but there you go.
Yeah. So it'll work in your favor.
I meant to have a blog post about it up today, but life got busy, so it should be up by tomorrow, and should have in the show notes so you can see any rules if you need them. And all that lovely stuff.
The rules there aren't really any rules. So.
They're also pretty easy, but
yeah, I was gonna say, Brittany, the rules on your show. But find something from the show that starts with that letter and snap it.
Yes.
That's true.
And for anyone who wants to really make yourself busy with photo challenges, I also have one posted on my blog that I am doing with the Indianapolis Children's Museum. It is the Own That Style Challenge, and there's the calendar is up on my blog. But it is coinciding with a new exhibit that they just opened all about fashion and textiles. So every day is a different theme, so you can dress according to that theme and post a picture of yourself, your outfit, and with the hashtag for whatever the theme is, plus the hashtag Own That Style. So again, not super complicated. Just follow the theme, use the hashtags, and put it up on Instagram or Twitter. So, but
that sounds fun.
If you're someone who likes to play with clothing, then that could be fun. You know, maybe you don't watch Once Upon a Time, but you're a bit of a fashionista, then you can do that one instead. So you got two choices. You can do one or the other, or both if you're really crazy like I am, because I'll probably try to do both.
Well, like we did with the Star Wars and Doctor Who, we did that one October. Remember?
Yeah. What were we thinking? And then last bit of housekeeping, Marvel with Friends from when we're recording, because it is Saturday night. So this coming Saturday night, the 7th of February, we're going to be watching Thor. So join us 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, hashtag Marvel with Friends, hashtag Thor.
Reminds me, I should probably put that on hold at the library so I can
join
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is your 1 week warning, people. Although you'll have less than a week by the time this goes up and you hear it. But hit up your local library, your local Redbox, your Amazon rental or whatever.
Or if you own it.
If you own it, make sure there's no scratches on the DVD. You know.
Yeah.
If you have the digital download, make sure that the file's not corrupt.
Just make sure it's all
make sure it's
all
good
for you.
Yeah. Make sure your T's are crossed.
And make sure it's the actual Marvel Cinematic Universe, not a horrible, crappy sci-fi one I watched recently.
Yeah, make sure it's the one with Chris Hemsworth and Tom Hiddleston.
Yep.
It is Thor, not Thor the Dark World. It's the first one.
Yes.
Because we're doing these in order.
We may have to put out a similar disclaimer for Captain America, because there was a really goofy-looking Captain America in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. You should watch the Nostalgia Critic video about that one, because that is funny.
Yeah, so...
Very crude and crass, but funny.
Yeah. However you have your copy, you may want to, pop it in and maybe watch the first, minute and a half and make sure it's right, just in case.
Yep.
All right.
You never know.
I have Thor on hold at the library, so I will be able to pick it up. There's at least one copy on shelves somewhere.
So you should get it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the system has 7 copies. Most of them are out, but due soon. So
hopefully.
Cool. And if I check my account,
so there's a hint. Check if your local library has an online system first.
Yep. And it is the version, because
So it should be like 2000 and what? 2008? 2007?
7, 8, something like that. Yeah. Or no, I don't remember.
No,
it was later.
It was 2008. I think it's 2009.
Is it 2009? See, I'm just.
Yeah,
I had this problem when we were watching Iron Man 2, and I was convinced that the first Iron Man came out like 10 years ago, and like no, it's only been 7. Which 7 and 10,
more like 9 or 10. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now
like 7 years, 10 years. I mean, it was kind of close.
Copyright 2011 on the thing.
Oh yeah, because you had Thor and Captain America the same year. Those came out, and then Avengers came out in 2012. I don't know why I remember. Oh, I know why I remember that one, because that was the year everybody thought that the world was going to end because of the Mayan calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird what I associate those things with, but there you go.
Yeah.
And now since you kind of know what our schedule is sort of going to be like, if you have to get on hold for these at the library, look down the calendar a little bit and get Captain America, Avengers, and Iron Man 3, and all those others. Get on the hold list for them, because sometimes however your local system works, it can take a little while for those to get all the way through. But just a heads up if your system works the way mine does.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my
so anyway,
be
careful that it doesn't come in quick. Otherwise, you're gonna have to bring it back before Marvel with Friends, and that's counterproductive.
That's true. You're right. So time it the way Time it the way
how many holds are on it, and judge accordingly.
Yes.
Yes, and consult with your local librarian, because they'll be willing to help you as well.
That's what they're there for.
If they're anything like me.
Yeah.
So anyway, with that out of the way.
Yes. But that's a nice segue, because we're going to stay in the Marvel Universe with this week's topic, and we're finally going to get around to, I had to get on Wikipedia earlier.
About the mini con I went to?
Oh, yes. Dude, talk about that real quick.
So, they're starting up a Kitchener Comic-Con. Starting up we're going to have the first one next month, February 28th. If you're in the area, come check that out. And today, they had sort of like a mini-con launch party type thing that I went to. And had some fun. Played Tetris, Pokemon, and then there was someone who was doing free drawings for people there, and I got a drawing of the 11th Doctor, which we can post somewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
On Tumblr right now.
Mm-hmm. So was it kind of a promotional thing to kind of get the word out there, or?
Sort of. So they say they're expecting like 1,000 people.
That's pretty good. Especially for a first-time con, that's
Yeah. Especially if it's supposed to be kind of a mini convention, and it's just kind of gauging interest.
It's a 1-day free admission at City Hall. So, well, posted it on my personal Tumblr. So now I can reblog it to the 5-ish Fangirls Tumblr.
Our Tumblr's going to be hopping.
Indeed.
Well, I reblogged a picture from FanX and tagged it "Are You Sciencey?" because of the Matt's t-shirt. So, yeah. So I reblogged that. So now we can move on to our because that's mostly what I cosplayed the 11th Doctor while I was there. So yeah.
Anytime you can do some Doctor Who cosplay is always a good thing.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
Unlike,
especially since I got a new jacket, and
I'll have to share a picture. I'll put up on our Facebook page or something. My brother is at OhioCon this weekend, and my brother has his fandoms run the gamut from like stuff I have never heard of and probably would have never heard of in my entire life if it wasn't for him, to the more common stuff. Like, I've seen him dressed up as a stormtrooper. The last con that we both went to, he went as Solid Snake. That's one of his go-tos. He does Archer from the cartoon quite often. But at OhioCon today, he's there all weekend, but today he went as a Wii Fit trainer. So if you saw a guy wearing white paint all over his body and in his hair, because my brother's mixed, so he's black, so he painted himself white and colored his hair and had somebody make the outfit, and it says "We Fit" on it, and he's got like the spandex outfit on it. He went as a We Fit trainer today. So if you were at OhioCon and you saw that guy today, that's my brother, and I'm either happy for you or very sorry. I don't know. I don't think you'd mind if I posted a picture on the page. It was funny because I was talking to my husband about it earlier, because we were talking about, I don't know how we'd mentioned cosplay, probably because I mentioned the conventions that are coming up in Indy. But it's just, you go to these things and you expect to see certain people dress certain characters as far as cosplay goes, like Doctor Who and like, Mario and, the cast of Adventure Time and that sort of thing. And then you've got somebody dressed as a Wii Fit trainer.
Why not?
Why not?
You know what? It works.
There's going to be one person there that is really excited about Wii, and it's going to squeak all over seeing that.
Probably.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the fun of going to conventions, is seeing the ideas that people come up for different costumes. I mean, it's just, I am floored every time I go to a convention or some sort of fandom-related thing, and I see the kind of costumes that people come up with. Like when I went to the Yule Ball a couple of weeks ago, someone dressed up as Hedwig. And she was like, she had her face painted. I forgot to mention this. She had her face painted, and she had like this dress. It was like white, and then it just had white feathers all the way up and down it. It was so cool, and I should have posted a picture of it, because it's just the creativity of cosplayers. I mean, I am constantly amazed at what people can do.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of it's homemade.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's just so impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother makes all of his stuff, or he has somebody make it for him if he can't make it. So yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. It's one of the few things we have in common, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, I just had to share that just because it struck me as funny, because it's like somebody cosplaying as one of the doctors, you expect to see that, but a Wii Fit trainer, not so much. Whatever. So, alrighty. Moving on now. So as I was starting to say that, talk about Marvel with friends was a nice segue, because we're going to stay in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the TV side of it. So I had to, I'll preface this by saying that I have not had a chance to rewatch anything, so I was on Wikipedia looking at the synopses for all the episodes to remind myself of everything that happened, but the first.
At some point, it all kind of blends together.
It does, yeah. So
yeah, I was trying to think of, okay, did this happen season 2?
Yeah,
season 1.
So with that, I think we're going to touch on the highlights here instead of the really going into each episode, mostly because we can't remember.
Yeah.
But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., season 2, first half, 2A, I guess, if you want to call it that. We'll take the Once Upon a Time way of numbering, I guess. So 2A finished airing back in December, but we're finally getting around talking about it. But we already recapped season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. all the way back on episode 14. And then we actually did a recap of the first episode of season 2 back on episode 16. So if you want to listen to those, you can go back and listen to those. So we won't really get back in it. We won't really touch on the first episode, but 2 through whatever number it was for where they stopped. 10. So 2 through 10. But this is something that I've been pushing for people that are not watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and something that I know we mentioned when we were talking about season 1, that, it took some time to really find its legs and take off, just because the first season, and at least like the first half to 3/4 of the first season, relied on fallout from whatever was happening in the cinematic universe until after Winter Soldier, and then it kind of boom took off with the return of Hydra and all that. That kind of like, really lit a fire under everything. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it was slow to get going, but after Winter Soldier came out, everything took off. So with this new season, if you're still not watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you really need to, because the storyline now is going to affect the cinematic universe in a big way, as opposed to the other way around.
It's like...
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's like they, the way that TV shows are scheduled, like they had to start it in September, and then so they had to establish the characters and the setting and the world and everything.
Yeah.
And then they really wanted to do this whole Hydra within S.H.I.E.L.D., but they couldn't do that until Winter Soldier came out. So it's kind of like it presents different challenges within doing it this TV show. But it's kind of gotten to the point where it works now, because the TV show is its own continuity and everybody has their own little story. Like Captain America's doing one thing, Thor's doing something else, Iron Man's got his whole thing, and then Guardians of the Galaxy, whatever they're doing. But it kind of feels like it's going to come together, but it's not there yet, and we're enjoying it we're enjoying these separate pieces while it is still working toward that goal.
Yeah.
But it's still fun.
Yes. So the whole premise, and we touched on, obviously we touched on it when we reviewed the first episode, this whole obelisk item that used to belong to Hydra and then went in storage, and it was Coulson against Hydra trying to get their hands on this thing, but this whole first half of this season was this struggle between Coulson and his team and Hydra and Dr. Whitehall and his gang of thugs and minions and crazy scientists and stuff, trying to get their hands on the obelisk, and also at the same time trying to find what turns out to be a city that the obelisk needs to be taken to for it to be truly activated, because the obelisk is according to Raina, it decides who is worthy of it touching, because we saw in the season premiere that for the most part whoever touched it, their arm turned to stone and it ended up killing them. But as we see, like Sky's father and Sky can touch it and nothing happens to them, because the obelisk, or the diviner as Raina likes to call it,
Well, and Raina can touch it.
And Raina can touch it, yeah. It decides that they're worthy of it being touched. So we find out, and then Coulson has been doing the carving that we saw at the end of season 1. This compulsion to carve this pattern, and Skye actually figures out that it's a map. And but they can't figure out what it's a map to. And they discovered that there are other people that were part of Project Tahiti ended up having the same compulsion, because the Project Tahiti used this GH 325 serum to heal agents who had been fatally wounded in the line of duty, like Coulson was, and then like Skye was. And they all started to go crazy doing this carving, and the ones that were still alive were getting picked off by people from Hydra. So, but they end up tracking down the last guy, and instead of the guy carving, he was building. He's a metal worker, and he ended up welding the same pattern in a 3-dimensional format, and then you can actually see the true map of what it is, and it's a map of this city. Then the whole story is, and we learned this throughout several episodes, between Raina and Whitehall and Skye's father, that the diviner was. There's a story, a legend of blue angels who descended from heaven and decided who was worthy of these abilities. And we find out that these blue angels are actually Kree, who are an established creature in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you actually see in season 1, when Coulson finds out exactly what Project Tahiti was, and that creature in the tank, that's its body has been used up to make the GH 325 serum, is a Kree, is what it is the giant blue creatures. So they're aliens that had come. They weren't angels that descended from heaven. They were aliens from outer space that had come to Earth to establish a new colony, and had left this stuff behind. But anyone who is injected with essentially the fluids or whatever from the Kree, it programmed them to want to create the map so that it would take them to the city. And in the meantime, Raina is, she's trying to get her hands on the obelisk to get to Whitehall, because she thinks Whitehall is going to kill her. At the same time, she's promised Skye's dad that she'll get Skye to him, and she ends up getting captured by Coulson, and they try to get Coulson ends up convincing her to try and do some stuff, and she switches sides quite often, Raina does, which is, you don't know whether you can trust her or not, but a
lot of quintuple dealings going on.
Yes, and most of it, a lot of it is her compulsion to want to get to this city. Now, whether it's been established that she was injected with the GH325 or not, I don't know, or if she just knows because she is part of the same, I don't know what the proper word is, same species, I guess, as Skye and her father.
Well, let's see.
It's a bit.
Well, she gets it from her mother, though.
Yeah. Because Skye, because we find out that, because we knew that Skye had been found as a baby, and as far as they knew, her parents were dead, and we find out that after the fact, or later on in this season, that there were Skye's father was a doctor, and he went to to China and to these other Asian countries to do medical work, and he ended up meeting Sky's mother and falling in love and getting married. But there were people in the village that Sky's mother was from who seemed to have these abilities to heal and not age. And Hydra, and specifically Whitehall.
Okay, I'm on the Wikipedia page for the Kree, and it says, according to Raina, in contrast to others believing they were acting to conquer or destroy humanity, the Kree desired to change the world and created the Diviners for the purpose of engineering inhumans while wiping out those the relics deemed unworthy of the process.
Yes. Raina has this very, higher, she's got like this reverent belief to this thing that, she's convinced that it's, her destiny, and she seems actually kind of crazy to me the way she talks about it, but these people in this village,
she's a fanatic.
Yeah, she's a fanatic. She's kind of, I don't know. But
yeah, she was that way last season. It was like, okay, yeah, you are supremely creepy.
Yes.
Well, she's not a kid, but I call everybody kid.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you got that look in your eye, like, run the other way, for heaven's sake.
Yeah. But but Whitehall finds out about these people in this village, and Whitehall wants to find out if he can bottle these abilities and use them for himself and for Hydra. And he kills a bunch of people, and one of them ends up being Sky's mother, and that's how Whitehall has managed to stay young. Because he does get captured at the end of the war, and gets imprisoned for a long time, and we see him get old, but then he gets sprung from jail, and he picks up right where he left off with these experiments, and ends up using, I think it's specifically Sky's mother is the one where he's able to at least somewhat get her ability and use it on himself, so now he's young again as opposed to being really old. But then Sky's father finds out about it, and of course he's like, I'm gonna get revenge. And he's now on this mission to get he wants to be reunited with Sky, but he also wants to get revenge on Whitehall for killing his wife, which I guess it's understandable that it's something we've seen a lot in movies and TV shows. You killed my, the love of my life, I'm going to get revenge on you. So there's a lot of that, but we also see that Sky's father is a few fries short of a Happy Meal when it comes to his control on his temper. He's not somebody you want to tick off.
He's not quite Bruce Banner and the Hulk, but he's on kind of that same wavelength a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, and that kind of and Sky, when she meets him, or because she sees what he has done, and she is like, she's freaked out by him totally.
Yeah,
she's like, you're a monster, and she wants nothing to do with him, and it's almost like there's this divide between it's Phil Coulson versus Sky's dad as to who is going to be the father figure in Sky's life, and at this point it's no contest, it's Phil Coulson.
Yes,
because he's the one who's actually acted like a father figure to her.
Yes,
and she and Melinda May is her SO, and she goes. So she's kind of got this little family within S.H.I.E.L.D.,
right?
And she's very happy there, and she's flourishing and doing very well, and and Agent May is like, yeah, she's doing great, and that kind of thing, and they all look out for one another, which is kind of a cool shift in the dynamic.
Although with any sort of family, there is some dysfunction, and
of
Ward. Ward gets the award for creepery.
Although at this point I feel like Ward's kind of been kicked out of the clubhouse.
Yeah. Just from the beginning of this, just from the beginning of the season, every scene with Ward, I'm just like, he made my skin crawl. Which kudos to him for
Brett Dalton.
to Brett for pulling that off, because A+ acting there to be able to do that, but just
Yeah.
And
well, it's like, because last season, he is the alpha hero, whatever
Charming.
kind of guy, and you're like, okay, yeah, charming and everything, and then you find out he's actually Hydra.
Yeah.
And every time you see him in this season, you're just like, okay, what is your angle?
Yeah.
And even when you kind of think, okay, maybe he really doesn't have one, by the end of the episode, yeah, he still has his angle.
Yeah.
And he's still... I mean, the episode with him and his brother,
yeah.
Skin crawl.
His brother was a senator or congressman, one of the two. And once Ward manages to escape Coulson and the crew, this first half of the season, one of the underlying stories could be revenge, because that thread goes throughout a lot of these episodes, and Ward decides that he needs to pay his brother a little visit, because his brother is trying to get the government to take down S.H.I.E.L.D. Him and Talbot. Ugh. Again. Yeah. Although Talbot's not so much a creep, Talbot's a big old jerk. Talbot is a word.
Not quite as slimy as the Ward brothers.
Talbot is a word I'm not going to use, because this is supposed to be a family-friendly podcast. So.
At the same time, Talbot, he's kind of, he's the hard-nosed military guy who's like, he's got a job to do and he's going to do it. He knows who the enemy is. Oh, yeah. Well, I use knows in quotations because he knows it's S.H.I.E.L.D. until Agent Coulson says, yeah, no, we're on the same side, so get off our case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but Ward had told this story about how his other brother had got fallen into a well, or got pushed into a well, and his other brother would not let him rescue him. And as far as Ward is concerned, that's the way it happened. But if you ask his brother, it was Ward that was the mean, jerky kid that, didn't seem to care about his siblings. But Ward ends up following his brother to his, country home or whatever, to where he's meeting his mistress, even though he told his wife he was working in Washington. Creep. And he ends up getting his brother to confess that he was the one that tortured his, the two brothers, because he was convinced that their mother loved them more than she loved him. And then Ward ends up killing his brother. And he had taped his confession and edited it in a way so that it sounded like a suicide note, because he made it look like a suicide. And he was like, so distraught. And I tortured my brothers because I was convinced that, my mother didn't love me as much as she loved my brothers. And Ward got his revenge. So the two people seeking revenge throughout these episodes, Ward accomplished what he wanted to accomplish. But, how that's... if that's going to help him sleep at night later, I don't, I guess. But,
well, he's kind of psychotic at this point.
Yeah,
so,
a little bit, and that may come back to bite him in the butt if somebody figures out that it was not a suicide and it was a murder. That could cause him some problems down the road. But with all of that going on, we also have the rest of Coulson's crew, and Coulson and May has kind of made herself. I mean, she was always kind of Coulson's right hand, but even more so because she knows what Coulson is suffering with these compulsions to do the carving. So they end up getting teamed up a lot, and towards the middle-ish, they go on a mission, and they get tailed by Hydra. But Hydra's got this technology so that somebody can disguise themselves as someone else, and it copies everything, their face, their voice. I guess like if you swabbed a piece of DNA, like the DNA would match or something. It's Hydra tech. It's crazy. But May ends up fighting herself essentially, which is one of the coolest fights I have seen on TV in a while. It was cool. And props to Ming Na Wen for this. But it was surreal to watch, but at the same time I'm like, I've always said that I would never want to cross May because I know she would kick my butt, and she is such a bad fill in the blank that's like, really the only person that would be a match for her is really herself.
pretty much. And then that character keeps May's face throughout the rest of it because something happens to the little
mask
holographic thing, and
it gets
electrocuted or something. And on one side of the face,
which is how you can tell them apart.
Yeah. So I think whatever happened, fused it to her in that form.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
and I loved it too when the reveal, when Coulson knew something was up, and when he lays out the fake agent, May's just like, May doesn't like coffee.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah. So Coulson and May are doing their thing, and then you've got Mac and Agent Triplet, and who is left over from the group of hired help, I guess, from the season premiere. Hunter's the only one that's alive, but it was Mac that ends up befriending Fitz and helps Fitz come out of his shell while Simmons is undercover at Hydra, which good lord, how she survived, how Simmons lasted as long as she did, I do not know, because Simmons is like the worst liar in the entire universe.
They're getting lessons from Coulson during their meetings.
Or something, because when I watch that episode, I'm just like, oh, Simmons, honey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Get out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
I was a little bit afraid that they were going to write Simmons out, but I knew they hadn't because Elizabeth Henstridge was still tweeting about, hey, being on set and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay.
It's like when you saw that promo for like the second episode and you see that Simmons is at Hydra, and I'm all like, okay, she's either defected or she's undercover, and either of those, they're going to tear her apart because she can't lie to save her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she ends up getting caught, unfortunately. Not really because of anything that she did super stupid, because Raina ends up figuring it out and sends a picture of Simmons sending a encrypted message on her because Raina was trying to blackmail Coulson into either helping her so Whitehall doesn't kill her, or handing over the Diviner or whatever. Because at this point, Raina was just trying to save her own hide. So Simmons gets exposed, but she before that they can take her down, we find out that the very imposing head of security intel or whatever at Hydra is actually Bobby Morse, who is also undercover for S.H.I.E.L.D. So Bobby ends up helping Simmons escape before Simmons can get captured and tortured, because at this point Hydra has taken the step of, if they don't think somebody is truly loyal to Hydra, they've been brainwashing them to the point where they are just robots. So then they have phrases that they say to kind of trigger the hypnosis or whatever that they've programmed into their brain so that they comply. Because Simmons would have cracked. Simmons would have cracked if they got her to that point.
Oh yeah.
So they get Simmons out of Hydra and back to the Shield base, and with Bobby, and leading up to this, we know backstory for most of the characters, but Hunter's a new one. So Hunter at one point looks like he's going to double cross Coulson to Talbot, but he doesn't. But Hunter has told anybody and everybody about his horrible she-devil woman of an ex-wife.
Yeah, that's who it is.
And it turns out to be Bobby.
That was a nice reveal.
As soon as Bobby and Simmons got back, and you see Hunter see her, and you see his face, before he has to say anything, I knew. Yeah. I was like, Bobby is his ex-wife.
This is gonna be good.
That was such a. Oh, I love that moment. Where it's just like, oh, it's you two, and just all their snark throughout the rest of the season.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, it really lightened the mood because you're dealing with Coulson is compulsively carving, and he might be going crazy. Ward is down in the basement doing plotting his thing. Poor Fitz. Oh, poor Fitz.
Poor Fitz.
And then you have Bobby and Hunter just sniping at each other in kind of a good-natured sort of way, and I'm just like, more of this, please. I can watch you two go at it all day long.
And when they're not sniping at each other, they're doing it in the back seat of the SUV.
Yeah, that too.
It's a love-hate relationship they have. I think they love to hate each other. So.
Yes.
They hate to love each other too. So at this point, most of the family has been, Coulson's team has been reunited for better or for worse, and it's really awkward between Fitz and Simmons because Fitz still feels really abandoned by Simmons. Not that Simmons could have told him that she was going undercover, but he still feels like she left him, and they talk about each other, and people talk to them about each other, and you can see that they both still really care for each other, but they're so afraid and I think scarred from what happened to them at Ward's hand in the season 1 finale, that they're really hesitant about picking up their friendship, let alone maybe pursuing a romantic relationship. And they avoid each other for the most part, but they are forced to come together and work together as all this stuff comes together and they figure out where the city is. And it turns out that it's underground in San Juan, Puerto Rico. The city's underground in San Juan. So it's a mad rush. Hydra, Shield, who can get there first? And it kind of ends up being a tie in a way. But Mac, while down in, because they'd sent some machinery down, and because of all the mystical powers and everything down there in the city, none of their technology will work. But they don't know that yet. So Mac goes down trying to fix their little camera drone things that they use, and ends up being almost kind of zombified and under control of the city. So they all end up having to go down and trying to find him, and they'd set bombs hoping that they could blow the thing up, and because Max's point has been captured, and she ends up down there. So it's like, okay, blowing it up is going to be a bad idea because there's people down there that we care about. And this point, it's really down to Raina and Sky. Whitehall is dead. Sky's father came so close to getting his revenge, and Coulson ends up shooting Whitehall instead, and that really ticked him off.
I love the moment because Sky's father's like, "What did you do? I was about to get my revenge," and Coulson's just like,
"Sorry."
So.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I almost expected to say, well, he died. That was your revenge. Who cares how it happened?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. But yeah, he does care. So.
Yeah.
Dead, isn't he?
Yeah. And at this point, I guess we should also clarify that Sky and her dad had been reunited for at least a little bit. And we find out that at this point we've been calling him Sky's dad, and in the show they referred to him as the doctor, because he is a medical doctor, not like Doctor Who type doctor.
Right.
But we find out that
two very different things.
Yeah, and the entire time, whenever anybody's talked to him about Sky and they say her name, he's very insistent that is not her name. The Sky is not her name. So in their little reunion, and he's trying to kind of explain, the story of her and, her mother and all that we find out that his name is actually Cal and Sky's name is actually Daisy. So if you're familiar with the comics, Cal is Dr. Calvin Zabo, also known as Mr. Hyde. Who
like Jekyll
is
and Hyde type
a little bit, yeah. He's in the comic books.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, in the comic books, his abilities are listed as superhuman strength, stamina, durability, and resistance to injury. But he's not a nice guy, even in the comic books. And you can go on to, like the Marvel Wiki or whatever if you really want to read into it, although there may be spoilers there, so keep that in mind.
And then the other thing with Sky / Daisy is they keep playing the song "A Bicycle Built for Two."
Yeah, because it's Daisy.
Yeah. And they play it in like that really creepy music box sort of way.
Yeah.
So it just sort of.
Yeah.
They apparently love Marvel apparently loves the creepy childhood cute songs and making it sound scary.
Yeah.
Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
Pinocchio.
Yeah.
They must hang out with Stephen Moffat.
Yeah.
It must be, yeah.
So they're reunited, but then they're separated, and at this point, Sky / Daisy really still doesn't really want anything to do with them. And she ends up shooting Ward, so she gets her revenge on Ward. Doesn't kill him, because that's, I guess, a good thing, because I guess Brent's going to stay on for at least a little while longer. But at this point, really Sky had wanted nothing to do with the Diviner and, figuring out what she may become because of this thing. But she's there, the city is there, and curiosity really gets the best of her. So she goes down into the city, and she and Raina end up finding the room that the Diviner is supposed to go to, because the Diviner is supposed to be the key, and if it's brought to the city, to the proper location, that it will show the worthy ones their destiny. So it's brought to the room. Coulson is hot on their tail. Mac gets de-zombified, and Triplet is down there too. And it's a mad rush to try and save Sky. And by the time she gets there, Raina's already got the Diviner in place, and it starts to do its thing, and the room closes up and traps Triplet in the room with Sky and Raina, and the obelisk activates and does this glowy thing and create it kind of covers everyone in the room with the same kind of rocky shell that it had done to whoever touched it. But as its ability, I don't know. I think the thing I read, they call them cocoons. So kind of a cocoon type thing. And then the cocoons break free, and unfortunately, Triplet does not survive because I guess he's not worthy. So it ends up killing him. So we've lost Triplet now, which sucks because I loved him. He was a good character.
Yes.
All
these characters, even Lucy Lawless's character at the beginning, where she only lasted less. Hartley, I was like, oh, she's awesome. She's dead by the end of the episode and never came back.
Yeah.
Contrary to all of our speculation, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. So the Raina and Sky's cocoons break open, and Coulson and Mac are out there, screaming, yelling, going, well, try to get this thing open so we can save you and help you. And one of the last shots we see of Sky is just her breaking free of her shell and the ground shaking, and she's just kind of like, what the heck just happened to me? Kind of look on her face. So, and then we kind of get a glimpse of Raina, but not really, and it kind of looks like Raina has like fur or feathers or something on her. So Raina, I think, had more of a transformation than Sky did, at least on the outside. But the minute that this happens, it cuts away to this office and this phone ringing, and this guy This guy walks in this office, or no, he picks up the phone because he's got an obelisk as well. And it's glowing or whatever, sending a signal, and he picks up the phone, and you see him turn around, and the man's got no eyes, like where his eyes should be. It's just flat skin. But he picks up the phone and calls someone and says, there's another one, or there's someone else, or something like that. So like but we know that there's more than one obelisk, and they're connected, and this guy, at least one other person, has now been transformed due to the obelisk, and that's where it kind of leaves it. But the whole point of all of this, as I was alluding to earlier, is if you're familiar with the comics, or if you've been paying attention to the movie announcements from Marvel with all the movies that are going to be coming out for like the next 5,000 years or whatever it is, that one of those movies that's due to come out in a couple of years is the Inhumans movie. And that's what this storyline has been leading to. Sky, her father, Raina, this guy with no eyes, all of these people are Inhumans. And that's why I've been saying you really need to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because when the Inhumans comes out, this storyline is going to play into that, because I don't see it not, because, I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and this MCU have been so intertwined at this point that it's not going to change. So you may be a little lost when the Inhumans movie comes out. With any luck, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will stay on at least to the point that this movie comes out. I hope, knock on wood, cross my fingers, throw my shoulder or something. But, I mean, I'm sure you could continue just to watch the cinematic movies and probably be fine. But I really feel that if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that it is going to pay off more and more as far as continuity and backstory goes in the cinematic universe. And from what I've been reading, trying to learn about these more obscure characters, because everybody knows Thor and Captain America and Iron Man, but unless you read the comic books, you don't know who Mr. Hyde is, really. You don't know about the Inhumans. You don't know who Daisy is. Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
it's going to be important.
And I think that's it feels like that's what the goal is with this, is for Marvel to to explore some of their into the movie universe as well. And so it's like, I mean, and they've got a plan. They've got this mapped out and to help it move it along. And I kind of feel like, if all you do see is the movies, because there will be people who will only see the movies, you'll be fine. But for those of us who are like really into it, like, give me all the story that you can, and we will be rewarded for following Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter and all these other the Netflix series as well, because that's series is because all these things tie in together, and that's how comic books work. I mean, and that's kind of why, me personally, I couldn't really get into reading the comic books, because there are so many, and I'm like, where do I even begin? But the cinematic universe has given me a way to interact with these characters and to see these stories in a way that I'm like, okay, I know that I watched this movie, then these episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then this movie, blah, 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 all the way down. Yeah. So I think they're kind of bringing the comic book story experience to people who don't necessarily read comic books.
Right.
And if we stick with it, we will be rewarded with the payoff at the end.
Yes.
Or wherever we're going.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason, a big part of the reason why, if you go to our blog post with the Marvels with Friends schedule, you will see that I put in the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in there. We're not going to be doing tweet-alongs with that, but if you're someone that has maybe been wanting to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just to get caught up, follow our schedule, because it will make way more sense, because it tells you which episodes to watch in between the different movies. And we'll probably have to we'll have to do this again for here forward with season 2. So
yeah, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And even if you don't watch it in that order, when you go back and watch those seasons, you're like, okay, I see where episodes 1 through whatever slots in between these movies.
Yeah.
I don't have the list in front of me, otherwise I would say exactly where it all goes.
It's Iron Man 3, and then episodes 1 through whatever, and then Thor: Dark World, and then so many episodes, and then Captain America: Winter Soldier, and then it's the rest of the season. So,
yeah, and it all ties together, and and we've said it before, it's a really unique way that they're doing it. I mean, I don't know any other franchise or series that ever has done anything like this, where the TV show and the movies tie in so well, but each of the movies and the TV show all have their own storyline, their own continuity. And so, it's a gamble for them to do this, but it's working out really well so far. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it.
I am too.
It's great. Yeah, it's fun.
Same here.
I did not jump on the Marvel bandwagon until like 2.5, almost 3 years ago, and I'm so glad I did, because it is just, I've never really been like a comic book person, and I got Drew into we did a whole episode about just Marvel in general, and I talked about how I got sucked into the Marvel universe, and looking at it, comparing it to some of my other fandoms, I can see why it is entertaining to me as it is some of my others. Like one of the biggest ones I compare it to is actually Disney, which is, I think with Disney buying Marvel, it made absolute perfect sense, because both companies are so good about building stories, really, really rich stories that work well together and connect, and everything having a backstory, even if it's something that's mentioned like once in one movie or one comic or whatever. It's got a story to it. The Star Wars universe is like that too. Every character, whether you hear their name or not, they've got a story, and you may not know what it is, but the creators know, and that's all that matters. So
yeah, and I think that's a huge trend. Like people wanting those backstories and wanting to see like, you know, where these characters are from, or even just to feel like this world is a real actual place. And like, you know, and they, you know, J.K. Rowling did that with Harry Potter. Doctor Who does that to an extent. I mean, you go down far enough in the rabbit hole of Big Finish, and you've got all those spin-off series where the Doctor is maybe not even mentioned at all, but you know where these characters have come from, and it's all from the Doctor Who thing. So yeah, there's definitely people are loving this whole, you know, give me this great big world and immerse me in it, and then show me these smaller stories within that greater world, and it's just fun to enjoy and love.
Very much so. And the nice thing is you know, you can get as little into it as you want, or as much into it as you want. You know, it's like, you know, my husband and I think actually I gobble up more than my husband does, because he started to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and then stopped, and I've been trying to get him to back onto it, and just hasn't happened yet. We'll get there eventually, just because this is becoming more and more intertwined with the MCU, that he's gonna need to watch it. But I mean, you can, you know, my father-in-law went with us to go see Guardians of the Galaxy, and he'd never seen any other Marvel movies, and he may never see any of the others again. But he really enjoyed Guardians, and that may be because that movie was more standalone than the rest of them.
Yeah.
But
and that's the balance. That's the balance they have to strike. Because like you said, there's some people who are just, they may see one movie and that's all they see, that they enjoy it, but for you know, whatever reason they just don't get around to the rest.
Yeah.
So it still has to appeal to a wide you know, movie going public, and then also keep that integrity of this whole world that we've been building, and our fans want to see that payoff within the rest of the continuity.
Yeah. And don't let the fact that with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the characters are more obscure scare you off, because as we've seen with Guardians of the Galaxy, obscurity does not necessarily mean mediocrity. Or not interesting.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It just means they have so many characters that some become popular and some don't, but they still have really great stories. I mean, this whole thing with Skye and the Inhumans, I'm just kind of like, okay, now you got to tell me how they got here, and like all this. Like I actually, and I kind of wonder if Inhumans is going to be the backstory of how they got here, and somehow or other. I mean, I'm just, you know, speculating. This movie doesn't come out for what, 4 or 5 more years or something.
Yeah, it's one of the ones that comes out right before Civil War comes out. So they're the third Avengers movie. So you know, this is it's like a few years down the road.
It's I mean, it probably isn't even in pre-production yet. They just have a title and a logo and a date.
Yes. Yeah.
And not much else, because they got to do Ant-Man before they get there.
There's a few other movies that are due to come out before that, but you know, as these movies come out and as more episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. come out, we're going to see just the quilts just grow bigger and bigger and bigger, and you know, more and more full of stories, and they're going to be all intertwined, and it's you know, if you can keep up, good for you.
Yeah. And find your favorite characters. I mean, you're not going to love everything, but you find the ones that you love more than others. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, go Marvel.
Yes.
You're still rocking it.
Awesome. So, and now Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. shall be returning here in a month-ish, in a few days. So.
Yep. March 3rd. Yep. And they have released a promo for the next episode.
Yeah. So
I don't have it in front of me, but I did watch it, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. So now that Skye has been transformed into her true form, that we'll now see the fallout from that and all of this. So As soon as one fire is put out, five more
Five more
starts.
take its place, Hydra.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, because only of the people that were worthy, I guess, only Sky and Reyna were in the room. Coulson, in theory, should have also been worthy of transformation, but he was not in the room. Mm-hmm. So we don't know what the fallout of that may be. Those that should, I say should, like it was a good thing, but should, as far as the diviner is concerned, should have been in the room when the diviner was activated. What kind of fallout there be? Because once Coulson figured out what he was carving, once he figured out the map, his compulsion to carve finished. So he's not going crazy anymore as far as we know. But he was still injected with that serum from that Kree. So what effect it may have on him versus Sky, who was actually exposed to the power of the obelisk, we don't know. And that may be something that we find out. So, and, Whitehall is dead, but, Hydra is still out there. This is not we're far from done with Hydra, I think, at this point. And, Ward is still on the loose. He was rescued by one of Whitehall's minions who, she was one of the ones that had been completely brainwashed, and, her only source of, reason for living was to do what Whitehall requested of her. And once he died, she felt like she had no reason to exist anymore, but she ended up rescuing Ward. So there's that. And, so who knows? It's Phil's going to have his hands full, and we'll just leave it at that. Not that he doesn't anyway, always, but yeah. Because S.H.I.E.L.D. is still rebuilding, and, I don't know how many episodes or how many weeks we're at the second half of the season's going to go, but I would assume that the season's going to finish up right around the same time that Age of Ultron comes out, so...
Yeah. Ooh. So, Age of Ultron comes out May 1st.
May 1st. Mm-hmm. So we'll have 2 months from beginning of this half of the season to Ultron comes out. So we may, may see some spillover. Who knows?
Maybe.
So, because, as far as we know, well, as far as we know, and as far as Phil knows, Nick Fury is still alive. And Steve Rogers knows that Nick Fury is still alive.
Who else knows Nick Fury is still alive?
Well, we know Black Widow knows that Nick Fury is still alive. But we don't know if anybody else knows that Nick Fury is still alive. And nobody knows... As far as we know, none of the Avengers know that Coulson is alive yet.
That's going to be an interesting.
And Coulson is rebuilding S.H.I.E.L.D. So
that's going to be an interesting explanation.
Yeah. So
Let me explain. Nope, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Yeah, really.
We got to get through March first.
Yeah. March and April and all that. So
February.
Well,
yeah.
We've got February, which is
April. Yeah. Then it's May.
Yeah.
Hey, you're going Galley in February, so
yeah.
I know, but once Galley's over, it's gonna be like, is it May yet?
Yeah.
Is it May yet?
Is it May yet?
Is it May yet?
And we don't mean Agent May.
Are we there yet?
Yeah. And we don't mean Agent May, we mean the month of May.
Yes. Although Agent May is cool too.
Yes.
Yes. We love Agent May.
Yep.
Don't forget that.
We do.
So, yep. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., go watch it.
Yes.
You will not
watch it.
It's good for you. It'll be good for your health. Or not. don't know.
I was going to say, I don't know what those fields do kind of get you.
Yeah, I was say there were a few times.
Well, not
I'm
as much
pretty.
as the fields on Broadchurch.
Yeah.
Jeez. Broadchurch is really...
Yeah, let's not get started on the fields. I'm still just. Ugh. I'm still trying to recover from the loss of Triplet, so.
I know!
Yeah, I just had to rewatch that episode not too long ago because my roommate was behind, so okay.
I'm still in denial about that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
if he wasn't in the room,
somewhere.
Yeah.
Or he was considered worthy.
Yes.
One or the other.
Yeah.
Someone fix it, Vic.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's small. He'd come back.
Well, yes, that's true, but
maybe he just underwent a different process. Like he became energy.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
We can only hope.
Hey.
Oh.
I'm ready to fix it fit right here, right now.
Yeah.
He became energy.
Yeah.
He was worthy, and he became energy, and...
He's going to be like the Force. He's going to be like Obi-Wan in the Force. He's like, I'm with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Headcanon accepted.
Yes.
Triplet has been saved. Oh, wow. All right. Well, before the fields get to us too much, I think I think we should probably wrap it up here. So.
Yes, we should.
What
are we doing next week? Do we know?
That's a good question.
I was going to say, if people wanted to send in feedback, they could.
Yeah.
I already signed up.
Yeah. Unlike Traveling the Vortex,
Once Upon a Time mid-season recap.
There you go.
Okay.
All right.
So send in feedback if you've got it. We will read it out. It'll be awesome.
Yeah. So expect a lot
again, you can get.
Expect a lot of Frozen references next week.
Oh yes, there will be Frozen references in abundance.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And a lot of dang it, Rumple.
Yeah, that too.
Oh yeah. If you're, we'll try to keep the swearing to a minimum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Time to break out the alternative curse word list.
Yes. Which I'm actually really good at that, so I will. It'll be sweet mother of monkey balls or something like that. Anyway, if you want to get in touch with us, find us at our website, the 5ish Fangirls Podcast.blogspot.com. There you find our links to Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, feedback, email, YouTube, and iTunes. We are on iTunes.
Just in case you missed it.
Subscribe, review us on iTunes, whether, leave us constructive criticism if you think we suck, or tell us we're wonderful if you think we're great.
Yeah.
Hopefully you think we're wonderful.
Well, apparently reviews have something to do with how people find new podcasts.
It
on iTunes.
It has to do with the rankings or something like that. So even if it's a negative review, it's still cool.
Yes.
So
so that maybe more people can find us.
Yes.
Because that's what they always say on Verity.
Yep. So leave us a review and big thank you to our Patreon supporters. Again, if you have a little bit of extra cash and you want to send it our way, we'll be ever so grateful. It's just, if you want to, it's not requirement. I hope you're enjoying the podcast regardless, but that is an option. And I think that's all of our housekeeping. Again, next Saturday, February 7th, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, Marvel with Friends. We are watching Thor. So procure that, and we'll see you on Twitter, we hope. And also, and the thing that Rachel mentioned
Onet style.
earlier. Yep. Links in the show notes.
Almost
go
said,
see that.
I almost said treat yourself, but that would make sense, and that's only funny if you watch Parks and Recreation. So sorry.
Hey, I'm getting there.
Well, it's something that makes the rounds on Twitter, on Tumblr. So even people who don't watch Parks, who are on Tumblr, are aware of
the context. Though you want to watch Parks and Rec, so.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard it, but I'm like,
maybe I'll have time for that after I finish watching every single episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Oh boy, you've got quite the project there, friend.
Well, I'm most of the way through season 4 of Next Gen.
Okay. You're getting there then. Oh.
I have the remaining 3 seasons of Next Gen, 7 seasons of DS9, 7 seasons of Voyager, and 4 seasons of Enterprise. Plus the movies. Well, the remaining movies.
Just a little bit of watching to do. 12. Just a little bit of watching to do that.
Just a little bit.
And here I am struggling trying to get through all the episodes of the library.
A much smaller project.
Yes. So just out of curiosity, how far are you?
What next? Oh, you're talking to Rachel?
No, Rachel.
Oh, I'm only 3 episodes in.
Yeah,
so.
she just finished. Was finishing the 3rd episode as we started the Skype chat.
Dilemma.
Okay, Horns of the Dilemma. Yeah, that was the last one that aired in the proper order.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you get to go on the grand
list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thread them together properly.
Side tangents.
Yeah.
But enjoy. Anyway, we probably got to wrap this up before people go to bed.
Yeah.
And by people, I mean all of us.
Yes.
Indeed.
Alrighty then. So, anything and everything can be found on our blog. So, which is the 5ish Fangirls podcast.blogspot.com. So, links to everything in there on the blog. So, yeah. Alrighty then. Well, with that, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany in Fort Pierce saying goodnight.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City saying goodnight.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
Mitch in Kitchener, Ontario saying goodnight.
This is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. I ship Fitzsimmons.
Me too.
Good night.
Me three.
They give me feels. Good night, everyone.
You have been listening to the 5ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.